Hello, in this video we're going to take a look at what happens when a new user first signs into Office 365 and SharePoint 2016. So the administrator or the owner of the 365 deployment and SharePoint farm provides the new user with a username and password. I've put the username in. They navigate to microsoftonline.com and we put the password in. So the first thing that's going to happen here is we've requested that the user adds a new password. So we're going to do that and update password and sign in. So the first thing that's going to happen is that they need to provide the correct number of characters in their password and special characters. So we're going to redo this. Now I always find this useful to understand what an end user will experience and hopefully to overcome the problems by education before we get to that point. Try again, that's not your current password. So what we might be facing here is the need to replace the initial password. Let's try that one more time. Sometimes you may get a situation whereby no matter what the user does, they can't sign in, as we just saw. And one of the reasons for that is because they have checked this keep me signed in option, and it's cached and stored the password in the browser, and no matter how many times you change it, no matter what you do, it will continuously keep sending this old password to Office 365, which will stop you from being able to sign in because Office 365 will keep telling your browser that it's the wrong password. So you may get a situation like that, and end users don't always fully understand what's going on. So one of the ways to get around that problem is to make sure that you go in private or incognito, and here in Mozilla this will stop the stored password from being sent back to the to Office 365 and allow the new password to be used in order to allow the user to access. Now once you're in and you no longer need to change your password, obviously checking this button allows for single sign-on and very quick sign-on, which all works very well, but it's something to be mindful of. So if you do get this situation, what you're going to have to do potentially as an administrator is change the password. So I wanted to show you how to change the password in Office 365. So let's go to Office 365. So we're here in Office 365, and what we want to do is we want to update the password for this user. So by checking on this user, obviously we're in the user panel in Office 365, we get this reset option. Now usually auto-generating the password is probably the safest way to do this, and then making the user change their password when they first sign in is also worthwhile. So let's do that and click reset. Now what will happen is this panel will confirm the request, and it's going to say who do we want to send that to. Now you could put any email address in here. In this scenario we're going to send it to the administrator, and then the administrator will pass the password on to the user, and obviously it's provided us with the password here, which is also helpful. So let's click that. Now one of the things that you do need to do is give it a moment. I always generally tend to wait for the email to come through. That way you're sure that the changes have gone through, and that then you're able to pass the password on to the user to get them to update their account. So here we are back in the login panel. I've put the user's name in, We're now going to put in the password that the administrator has given me. We're not going to check this option, and we're going to sign in. It's now going to ask us to re-enter the old password and then add a new password back in twice. And that's going to drop us in for the very first time as the test user into SharePoint. You'll notice that there are some panels missing. For instance, the admin panel is missing. That's missing because I'm not an administrator, and therefore I shouldn't have access to the admin panel. Obviously, because I've been signed up with the E3 account, a number of these applications are available, and a lot of these are granular, so they can be removed. You will get things like alerts coming up here, which will ask you to complete the time zone you're in. This will try and then begin to set up Outlook for you through this process. So as the very first user logging in, it's quite daunting. You've got quite a lot of information coming your way, and this is why the onboarding process is absolutely critical, and it's important that it's thought out before you begin onboarding new users, because very quickly you can have a bad reputation, and certainly new users being turned off to the idea of using this platform. So also, when we first log in, if I click here to SharePoint, it's going to take us through to this panel. Now, we've seen this before on one of the other videos. Now, one of the reasons why this is suggested is because the current setup, when you very first set up a collection, the permission structure, anybody who has access to SharePoint to have access to this site. Now we can switch that off, and if I click on this, what you'll notice when we come in here is some of these tabs are missing. You still have access to everything that we've set up, and that's because globally this site and this collection has been set up to allow access to all sites. Now that's something that we'll look at next in terms of how we change that to lock down permissions and manage permissions and understand permission structure.